Tim.
Mr Dutton, you'd be aware of criticism from economists in the last 24 hours who argue that in fact you're not tackling the supply side and you're driving up the demand side with your policy, so making the problem, if anything, worse. What do you say to them?
We are providing $5 billion for 500,000 new homes. We're cutting the migration program by 25% because Labor's had it at a record high, and that's increased the demand for housing. So we create 100,000 homes in that policy. We now provide another 30,000 homes a year being built that weren't being built under Labor, and the Labor government's got demand side pressures that they're not addressing through supply side, that is extra homes being built. We are the only party that is addressing the supply side, and by providing an opportunity to young Australians. Look, I've moved around the country over the course of the last 3 years. There are many messages I've heard of people who are in pain under Labor's cost of living crisis. But it kills me when you hear young Australians just saying, I'm working hard. We're both working hard. We're putting money aside. We just can't afford. We don't think we're ever going to be able to afford a home. That's the common story. Now, I'm not going to accept that as Prime Minister of this country. I want to make sure that we can do everything we can, if we're fortunate enough to win the election, to restore that dream of home ownership, and this is the way that we can do it. A generation ago, you didn't require the same amount of disposable income because housing was cheaper, units were cheaper, and we have to deal with the reality for this generation. And that's exactly what we do through our policy. We hope that Australians can see some light past this dark period of the Albanese government. Help is coming, but people need to vote for the coalition at the next election, and we can deliver that. Yes, mate.
Yourself and Angus Taylor have defended your fiscal discipline by pointing to $100 billion worth of Labor's spending that you oppose. Does this mean, I do have a list of these measures, does this mean that you will repeal all of these measures to help pay for the spending announcements? And does this include the off-budget funds, the electric vehicle tax, and all the funding for Future Made in Australia?
Well, you'll see the costings released closer to the day, but obviously we've done a lot of work listening to Australians, and our priority for Australians is to help them get into home ownership. That's the priority.
Mr. Dutton, you're raising this $100 billion figure as an example of your fiscal discipline, and then you're not even able to tell us that you will repeal those measures and actually bank that money.
As I say, all of that detail is provided in the due course in the run-up to the election. What we've said is that we're not supporting Labor's wasteful spending because I don't want inflation to go up, and a big spending Labor Greens government is going to drive up the cost of inflation, and the cost of interest rates are higher always under Labor. Now, this is the biggest spending government in 40 years. They are the biggest spending government because Labor can't help themselves. They always tax, they spend, and look at what the Victorian Labor Party has done to the economy there. Look at what Anastasia Palaszczuk and Stephen Miles have done in damaging the Queensland economy. We will always be better economic managers, and we will always provide support to families. 30% more people are paying for groceries at the moment. We are going to provide more of people's own money back to them through the $1,200 tax cut. We're going to provide a 25-cent a litre cut on fuel, and we're going to provide an opportunity for young Australians to realise the dream of home ownership again.